back here live, ladies and gentlemen, on In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama, magazine Stephen M. Smith. As we do each and every week, we bring on distinguished guests, coaches, former players, guys that know about the Alabama football program from all angles. We started this off with my good man, Desmond Willis of top-rated speed and performance out of Prattville, Alabama. We jumped from him to Gary Enos, brother of Dan Enos, quarterback coach at Alabama. But now we bring on a personal favorite of mine, former Alabama defensive lineman and the current defensive coordinator for Hewitt-Trussville High School. Let's give it up for my man, Rudy Griffin, Coach G. Coach Griffin in the building. How you feeling, man?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me, Steve.
Absolutely, man. Very thrilled to have our own Rudy Griffin here joining me live on the show. And Coach Griff, first off, congratulations to you. I mean, you are in a rare category right now when you talk about somebody that fulfilled a lifelong dream to play at Alabama. I mean, you started your career off at the Citadel, transferred into Alabama, you walked on, earned you a scholarship, was able to be a part of something great during your playing days, and now you're watching something great with Nick Saban, what he's doing with this program right now. But you've kind of built your own pipeline as a coach from Hewitt-Trussville to the University of Alabama. Got some guys committed. Pierce Quick for 2019, offensive lineman. Paul Tyson, quarterback for the same class, 2019. And some other guys along with those two. So just talk about how proud you are of this program, of the coaching staff in developing guys that want to be great, that want to be the best.
I'm proud of all three of those guys that's committed to the University of Alabama. Pierce Quick, Paul Tyson in 2019 class, and then Zaylen Worsham, who's committed in the 2020 class. Again, I got a soft spot for my university, Alabama, but again, here at Hewitt-Trussville High School, man, me and my head coach Josh Floyd, we kind of don't steer our guys to go to pick a specific school. We kind of allow them to pick the best fit, and so far we've got three guys that feel like the best fit for them was University of Alabama. So I'm excited about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the line right now with Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman and the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach at Hewitt-Trussville High School, live here on In My Own Words, Touchdown Alabama magazine. Going with Pierce Quick to start this thing off, this is a very special young man because at this point last season, Alabama had 4 commitments for the 2018 class, and Crimson Tide fans were concerned, upset, terrified, annoyed, perplexed, confused. You can throw any adjective in that mix. The thought process was, what's going on? Why are players not wanting to come to Alabama? Do they not want to win? Do they not want to chase rings? Is Nick Saban losing it? What's going on? What's the issue? And then you look at 2019, Pierce Quick becomes the first guy to commit for this class, and he doesn't just commit, he shuts everything down. He says, I'm 100% for the University of Alabama and making this class the best of the Nick Saban era. And he's not just saying that, Coach Griffin, he is doing this. Of the 16 commitments that Alabama has so far, 15 of those guys, Pierce has went out there and has been on the ground recruiting these guys. And provided everybody signs, because Alabama was able to sign 27 guys for this year's class, provided everybody signs, if this group is able to win a couple of national championships together, could we make the argument, I'm not saying it's right, as members of the media, we kind of like to make projections. We kind of like to make, ideal assumptions of things. So could we make the argument, if Alabama's able to win a couple of national titles with this 2019 class, could we make the argument of Pierce Quick being the most influential player of the Nick Saban era?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that. I think this class comes together and goes on to win a couple of national championships. Ain't no doubt about it. You can put Pierce Quick as down as is going down as probably one of the most influential players in Nick Saban's era, especially if he gets on the field and do what I think he's capable of doing. Ain't no doubt about that.
Now, the reason why I brought that up is because I remember in 2008, Saban's first recruiting class, the class that had Mark Ingram, Barrett Jones, a lot of big names in that class, Donta Hightower, Courtney Upshaw. But it was when Julio Jones committed that really popped the top off things. This is not to say that the other guys weren't good enough, because they darn sure were. But it was just when Julio Jones committed, it became front page news. It became magazine covers everywhere, because what Julio did, he stamped Nick Saban as the guy. He stamped Nick Saban as, this is a real deal recruiter. And for a lot of Alabama fans, you wonder, if Saban doesn't get Julio, is he the recruiter we know today? Thank goodness Alabama fans don't have to carry that fear, because you got Julio Jones, and he was able to give Alabama the coast as far as recruiting is concerned. So that's why I kind of brought that question up. If everything turns out right for 2019, could you put Pierce Quick in that conversation? And you have answered the question, my man, with ain't no doubt about it. You can definitely put Pierce in that conversation. We're joined right here by Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman and defensive coordinator for Hewitt-Trussville High School, live on the show. Jumping this from Pierce to your quarterback, Paul Tyson. When a lot of people look at players of notoriety, and for Paul Tyson, he comes in on the heels of Paul Bear Bryant, on the coattail of Paul Bear Bryant. This is his great-grandfather. This is somebody that is a big deal, will always be a big deal at the University of Alabama. I don't care how many national championships Nick Saban wins, people are still wearing houndstooth. They're still wearing houndstooth hats, houndstooth scarves, houndstooth dresses. Paul Bear Bryant still leaves an impact, and with Paul Tyson being his great-grandson, he comes in. Now, a lot of people think that he's recruited off the name. But when you watch film on Paul Tyson, it's bigger than the name. This kid can absolutely play ball. 6'4", 220 pounds. I've basically taken this entire day to lock myself up in a room for 2.5 hours with 2 bottles of Gatorade just to watch more film on Paul Tyson. And I do this often, Coach Rudy. I do this often. Whenever there's a big-time recruit commitment to the University of Alabama, I take about 2 to 3 hours, and I go into a room, 2 bottles of Gatorade now. I watch film, I draw things up. I watch more film, I draw more things up, and I try to figure out, is there a former Alabama player that this guy resembles, or is there a guy in the NFL that this particular recruit resembles? When I watch Paul Tyson, 2 NFL quarterbacks hit my mind. He's got the athletic, evasive ability of Aaron Rodgers, but he's got the arm talent of Phillip Rivers. And the fact that he wears number 17 is a dead giveaway toward Phillip Rivers. Now, I remember you and I talked about prior to the show, you mentioned he's got a little bit of Tom Brady in him too. I'm not out there every day. You're out there, Coach Griff. You're watching him in practice. Am I out of line with my comparisons? What do you see about Paul Tyson? What should Alabama fans be excited about when you talk Paul Tyson?
I think you were spot on. I think you were spot on with your comparison. And it's funny that you actually mentioned the Phillip Rivers because that's one of his quarterbacks he kind of models his game after. And, hence the reason why he wears number 17. But I thought you were spot on when you mentioned him, the Aaron Rodgers and the Phillip Rivers comparison, and also his leadership ability like a Tom Brady. I think when you try to look at his game, I think you look towards the NFL comparison more so than the collegiate game, because I think his game is NFL type guy, type quarterback for sure.
I was just watching a couple of passes he had last season, and Paul Tyson, folks, a season ago, 2017, completed 71% for 3,392 yards, 36 touchdowns to only 4 picks, takes very good care of the football. But when I'm watching him, his ability to roll to the right, throw from one hash mark to the next, he's got that uncanny ability to place passes away from the defense, giving his guys a chance to make plays. And just watching that, I got the Phillip Rivers vibe. I got the Aaron Rodgers vibe. I even got a little bit of the Chad Kelly vibe from Ole Miss. I remember both 2015 and 2016 when Chad Kelly and Ole Miss took on Alabama. You know, Kelly had that way of torching the Alabama defense with the quick release, with reading the coverages, with getting the passes to the likes of Evan Ingram and Cody Core and Quincy Adebayo and DeMaurier Stringfellow and all the different weapons you got over there in Oxford, Mississippi. So just watching Paul Tyson reminds me so much of Aaron Rodgers and Phillip Rivers, and definitely wishing the best for that young man for years to come. But two guys that you and I kind of both talked about, Rudy, and we are on the line with former Alabama defensive lineman Rudy Griffin and the defensive coordinator for Hewitt-Trussville High School. Two of the guys that you mentioned, Coach Griffin, that you are excited to see next year are the likes of LeBron Ray and Kyrie McDonald. Hewitt-Trussville got the opportunity to play both of these guys at James Clemens High School. First and foremost, LeBron Ray. What jumps out at you about this kid? Because I watched him a bit last year. He's got quick twitch ability, 6'5", 272 pounds. Could have played more if not for an injury. What jumps out at you when you watched LeBron Ray in high school?
Well, the thing about LeBron Ray is his ability to rush the passer. And I've known, because I've seen him in high school, coaching here at Hewitt-Trussville High School. He played in the same region that we played in, which was the Huntsville region. He played at James Clemens High School. So we got the chance to see him quite a bit. Actually played and beat them in a region championship game a few years ago. But his ability to rush the passer, and that's something that I think is something that you're born with, and that's something I think he can do a real good job as rush the passer against the quarterback.
Now, you brought up a lofty comparison for him. You brought up Terrell Suggs, T-Sizzle, off the air. Why Terrell Suggs? What is it about LeBron Ray's game that drew you to Terrell Suggs?
I think it's his passion that he plays with the game. Again, it's his ability to rush the passer. But not only that, I mean, he can play the run game and also play multiple positions like Terrell Suggs played. And that's just my comparison. I feel that, you know, a guy like LeBron Ray, I think that Alabama fans should be fired up next year about LeBron Ray next year being able to step on the field and make some big plays, be able to be versatile and get after the pass.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live right here with Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman, defensive coordinator, also now at Hewitt-Trussville High School. On In My Own Words, Rudy, flipping this to Kyrie McDonald. This kid can play also in the secondary. Was kind of had a little illness in the college football playoff. Was carted off the field against Clemson in the Sugar Bowl matchup. Now McDonald's fine. He's okay now. But what about McDonald's game intrigues you? Because you brought up, once again, off the air, the likes of Tyron Honey Badger Matthew, and Honey Badger always found a way to be around the football, fighting for the football, creating fumbles, creating interceptions, did some things on punt return, kick return. What brought up the Honey Badger thing for Kyrie McDonald?
Well, it's the same comparison again. With LeBron Ray, I got a chance to see him, you know, coaching against him in our high school here, and he scored I don't know how many times on pick six, strip fumbles, punt returns, kickoff touchdown maker. And I know that, if he's out there, it's going to be somewhere he's going to get the football, he's going to score. And I'm excited to see seeing both of those guys, Kyrie and LeBron, because I know the playmakers that they are.
Now, you had the esteemed opportunity, Rudy, to play with a big-time quarterback in Brody Kroll in 2005. And if Brody doesn't get hurt, who knows the type of numbers he could have put up, because big-armed, huge talent, great leadership. Personally, one of my favorites. That 2005 team will always be one of my favorite teams to come through the University of Alabama. Now, this upcoming season, Alabama in the midst of a quarterback race between Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. If you go on the streets of the Tuscaloosa, Birmingham area, of course, people shouting Tua's name in the streets due to his ability to be a big-time passer of the football, has a way of putting the ball on the right spots. We've seen it in limited action in 2017. 11 touchdowns, 2 picks. Of course, he had for 3 touchdowns in the national championship game. But when you look at Jalen Hurts, just a pure winner. 26-2 as a starter. Me personally, I think he's 26-1. I don't count the Clemson game against him, but 26-2 as a starter. Not an overall terrible passer. His touchdown to interception ratio is 40-10 in that regard. A guy that's a dynamic runner and has done things in his past to win the team. If you were Nick Saban, Coach Rudy, not saying that you are, not trying to put you on the spot here, but if you were Nick Saban, seeing how you are a coach on the field, and you had to make this decision between Jalen and Tua, who would you go with, or who would you lean toward?
I can tell you what, if I'm Nick Saban, it's a position that I would love to be in. I don't think it's the wrong answer. I mean, you got 2 great quarterbacks to choose from. But I think ultimately it's going to go down to which quarterback is not going to turn the football over, which quarterback is going to help you win games, and last one is be able to keep the locker room and gel the team together. And once coach finds those 3 things and a quarterback can do that, then I think that'd be an easy decision. Of course, whichever one I feel is not a bad pick. But again, they can't turn the football over.
Can't turn the football over, the motto coming from our own Rudy Griffin here, former Alabama defensive lineman, defensive coordinator, and linebackers coach at Hewitt-Trussville High School, joining me live here on the show. Now, Coach, I'm going to try to attend some games this year at Hewitt-Trussville. I really am. I want you to kind of hold me to that, and hopefully I won't forget this. But I'm definitely going to try to attend some games here at Hewitt-Trussville to watch Paul Tyson, to watch Pierce Quick, to watch Desailan Worsham, to watch Malachi Moore, and the host of other guys that y'all got scouted out down there. But what is the goal this season for this program? Because I look at you guys. You give Hoover High School a push. You give Spain Park a push. You give a lot of these big-time programs a push. So what is the goal for this program for this upcoming season?
Ultimately, the goal of, this program is ultimately we want to win a state championship. And that's ultimately the end goal. But we're not going to jump to that. In order for us to win, to win a championship, we got to get better and better each day, and then from there each week. And so, we're gonna just take it really, kind of cliche as we seriously are. We're gonna take it week by week, and hopefully we can get better from week to week and do that. And that's ultimately that's gonna be the goal for us.
In your mind, Coach Griffin, what was something that you took from playing at Alabama that has helped you in your coaching career right now? I mean, you got the chance to play under Mike Shula, and this was somebody that people don't give enough credit for, don't give enough credit to. He came in during a time where this was a program on probation. It didn't have the sex appeal, the swagger, the sauce that we see it has right now with Nick Saban, but Mike Shula still came in still wanted to help you guys get over that hump. And I remember the prophetic words from Brandon Dederick when he came in as a freshman in 05 talking about, we're going to win 3 national championships. And by God, he almost got it. I mean, 2005, it was close. 08, it was close. 09, Chris Rogers and Dederick got that thing done in 2009. But what was something you took in your playing days, in the trenches with Mike Shula, that has helped you become the man that you are, the coach that you are, the mentor that you are, and the father figure that you are?
It's just just the work ethic, and that's something that was built at the University of Alabama long before I think Coach Shula got there, and I was actually went back to the days of Paul Bryant, just being able to demand excellence, and from that, and that's something here. We talk about this here at Hewitt-Trussville High School. This is something my head coach, Coach Josh Floyd, talks about leaving our jersey in a better place, and that's something that Paul Bryant started. When you put that crimson jersey on, that you're playing for not just the current class, the current group of seniors, but the classes and those players that played before you. You have something to kind of live up to, and that's something that we talk about here. Coach Floyd, my head coach, mentions it a bunch, and that's something that that's something I learned at University of Alabama, is that I put that crimson jersey on. I'm playing for not just when I was there in 2005, but when I was there in 1955 or whatever. I just know that I couldn't let those guys that was down before me or it's gonna play after.
Live right now, ladies and gentlemen, with Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman, defensive coordinator at Hewitt-Trussville High School on In My Own Words. Kind of the final thing on my end, Coach Griff, is a lot of people, a lot of coaches right now, when you look at Nick Saban, and we understand he's 66 years old, will turn 67 in October of this year, and they look at Nick Saban's age and they think, he can't be doing this for much longer. I'm fresh, I'm a young coach, I'm on the scene, fresh in the game, spry. I'm going to be around for all 4 years that you're going to be here as a student athlete, probably even more if you choose to pursue other degrees, other academic achievements. And they try to use Nick Saban's age as a negative recruiting tool, but somehow Saban has continued to relate to a lot of these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids with these trips out on Lake Tuscaloosa, with him, always smiling, always joking around, with him, hiring young, fiery assistant coaches that can speak the social media, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram language that these guys are speaking nowadays. So in your mind, Rudy, how has Coach Saban managed to reach these kids despite the age that he's in?
Well, I think the thing is too, man. Saban went and drank the fountain of youth, and I'm saying that, and I'm saying that is that he could be 66, 67 years old, but I think his mentality, isn't of a 66, 67 years old guy that feels that he's learned everything, and I think that he's eager to try to be relatable to the young kids, and and even his assistant coaches that he has around him. I mean, he's constantly having, he got younger assistant coaches around him that can understand and can relate to the younger generation, and that's a testament to Coach Saban, that he knows that to be able to stay relevant, to be able to stay around the youth, is you got to be able to understand and be able to be relatable, and I think that's something that he's striving to do, especially with the social media stuff that Alabama's really starting to push on, and Coach Saban ain't going nowhere, and so I know that's a lot of folks think that and try to use that against them. And I was down at Tuscaloosa today. We had a 7-on-7 today, and Coach Saban was bouncing around like he was 40 years old. So now he's not going nowhere.
Now, to you, what's been the hardest part about recruiting nowadays? Because back then, when you were playing, when you were coming up, when a lot of other guys were coming up, it was always the coach, the assistant coaches would come to your house, see your mom, see your dad, see family members, shake your hand, and will tell you, we can see you doing this. We can see you on this side of the football. We will come up with a plan for you. But nowadays, you got Huddle putting these kids' highlight tapes out there. You got kids being recruited off social media. You got guys basically being able to control, who and where they want to go to. So in your mind as a player, and now seeing this from the coach's viewpoint, what's been the biggest change in recruiting?
Well, I think it's two things, and it's not bad. But the change is that one is that I think the early recruitment and evaluation of players. I mean, you have middle school players with offers, and like we got ninth graders and we got 10th graders on our team with offers. I mean, Pierce, Zaylen, they've been committed to Alabama since in 10th grade. And another thing I think is social media. The recruiting when I was coming out, it kind of had a stopping point. You was at school, coach couldn't really reach you till you got home. Went home, they could call you for a certain amount of time, and then once about 10 or 11 o'clock it was over. Now it's 24/7 with Twitter. I mean, you're always accessible. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Coaches can always talk to you. So recruiting kind of never stops when you're a recruited athlete now. It's never stopping, and I think those are two of the biggest changes.
He's Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman and also the defensive coordinator at Hewitt-Trussville High School, live here with me on In My Own Words, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you can catch the podcast, Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give the podcast a like, leave comments, thoughts, and concerns. Want to hear from you, the fans that create the content, that want to know the up-to-date information about the team you enjoy watching in the fall, that being the Alabama Crimson Tide. Popping these podcasts out 3 days a week. Goal is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but definitely 3 days a week. We'll be getting that out there to you. My man, Rudy Griffin, any final words from your end before we sign off?
I always like to give a shout out to my high school. Here I'm coaching at Hewitt-Trussville High School, and we got a big game coming up here in August 25th. We will be playing on national TV on ESPN. Of course, this is kind of an invite to you, Stephen. We're playing on national TV here in Birmingham against a team out of Georgia, Cedar Grove High School. So it's going to be an invite for you, Stephen, to come check us out. And if you like a fast tempo offense, we're going to score a lot of points. Coach Floyd, my head coach, is going to put up a lot of points. We're going to score a lot of points. You're going to see a lot of great players. But come check us out. We'll see some Bama commits running around, some great players. A lot of Division I players going to be on the field. That's what I leave you with. It's my personal invite to you and my invite to anybody that's in the Birmingham area, or you can check us out on ESPN August 25th.
You heard it right here, folks. August 25th, ESPN. Hewitt-Trussville High School against Cedar Grove. ESPN under the bright lights. My man, Rudy Griffin, throwing out the invitation right there. Check them out. For all of us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine, I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. Next week, we will resume my top 5 at each position under head coach Nick Saban at Alabama. Until next time, folks, so long, everybody. Say my own words. It's your boy, Stephen M. Smith, host of In My Own Words, the podcast. If you are a fan of this show, then I encourage you to subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Also follow the brand on Facebook, Twitter, and other forms of social media as we continue to bring you the best in Alabama football and Crimson Tide athletics.